The day I rolled into Maple Grove, I knew I'd stick out like a grease stain on a white tablecloth. My '89 Chevy pickup, rusty blue, bed full of tools, muffler rattling like a dying cat, growled down the cul-de-sac, past houses so perfect they looked like they'd been photoshopped into reality. It was a chilly October afternoon in Ohio, leaves crunching under my tires, and I was hauling my life in the cab. A duffel of work clothes, a toolbox older than me, and a coffee thermos that had seen more late nights than a dive bar. Me, Jamie Carter, 29, mechanic, smartass with a knack for fixing anything with a motor, didn't belong in a place like this. But the house was mine, inherited from an aunt I barely knew, and I wasn't about to let it rot. Maple Grove was a suburban fantasy, manicured lawns, identical brick facades, driveways with gleaming SUVs that probably never saw mud. I'd scored 15-seater court, a two-story fixer-upper with peeling paint, and a yard that hadn't seen a mower in years. But the deed was in my name. Paid off, no mortgage. A miracle for a grease monkey like me. I worked days at a shop downtown, 9 to 5, wrenching on cars, cash in hand, and planned to patch the place up slow. New shingles, fresh grass, maybe a porch swing if I felt fancy. The Chevy shuddered to a stop in the driveway, kicking up dust the HOA probably hated, and I hopped out, stretching in a hoodie with holes in jeans stained with oil. Hair a messy buzz cut, I'd hacked myself. I'd barely grabbed my toolbox when I heard it. Tap, 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 heels on asphalt, quick and mean. I turned and there she was. Karen Voss, HOA president, neighborhood overlord, and a walking stereotype in a burgundy pantsuit. She wasn't tall, 5'4" with the perm maybe, but she carried herself like she owned the whole damn zip code. Her hair was a fortress of tight curls, her face slathered in makeup that didn't hide the sneer, and her eyes were narrowed behind gold-rimmed glasses. She clutched a clipboard, thick, laminated, a pen swinging like a noose, and marched up like she was about to arrest me. "You the new resident?" she said, voice high and cutting, like a teacher who hates kids. "Yep," I said, setting the toolbox down. "Jamie Carter. Nice to meet you." She didn't smile, didn't even blink. "Karen Voss, Maple Grove HOA president. I assume you've read the covenants?" I scratched my neck, sizing her up, and grinned. My go-to when I smell bullshit. "Hey, Karen. Skimmed them when I signed the deed. No loud parties, keep it neat. Got it." "Skimmed?" Her pen clicked twice. Click, click. "This isn't optional, Max Carter. That—" She jabbed her pen at the Chevy, lip curling like it had insulted her personally. "Is a junk heap. Section 5.2, vehicles must be presentable. And you—" She scanned me, top to bottom, sneer deepening. "Look too poor to live here." I laughed, short, sharp, the kind that pisses people off. "Poor? Truck runs, house is mine. You handing out fashion tips now?" Her face twitched, but not into anything friendly. "This isn't a junkyard," she hissed, scribbling. "You'll comply or you'll hear from me." She spun and tapped off, leaving me staring after her, half amused, half annoyed. "Fantastic," I muttered, hauling my duffel. Neighborhood bouncers already gatekeeping. Maple Grove was a rule book with a pulse. I learned that fast. Day 2, I met Lee Nguyen, my next-door neighbor, a wiry carpenter in his 40s with a buzz cut and a garage full of sawdust. He ambled over while I was tinkering with the Chevy's carburetor in the driveway, a Coke in his hand and a grin on his face. "You alive under there?" he called, leaning on the fence. "Barely," I said, sliding out, wiping grease off my hands. "Fixing the beast. Runs like a dream now." "Nice," he said. "Met the warden yet?" "Oh yeah," I said, popping the hood shut. "Karen, loves my truck, hates my face." Lee laughed, deep and easy. "That's her. Runs this place like a country club. Last year she fined me 'cause my sawdust blew 2 feet into her yard." "Charming," I said. "How do you deal?" "Build her shelves when she whines," he said, winking. "Keeps me off her list. You, though, she'll chew you up." I liked Lee right off. He lived here a decade, owned his place, stayed for the quiet and the schools. 2 kids, wife a nurse. Over the next week, he spilled the tea. Dot across the street, a retired widow who knitted and snitched to Karen about every leaf. The Millers 2 doors down. techies who'd gotten a citation for too loud Wi-Fi routers, and Karen's posse, three women with bobs and a shared obsession with bylaws. Karen was a legend, divorced, no kids, part-time insurance gig, full-time HOA dictator. She'd find a guy for excessive tire shine on his car, shut down a kid's bike race for unpermitted activity. When a cat scratched her begonias, she billed the owner for property damage and won. Lee swore she had a binder, color-coded, every house tracked, every fine logged. "She's got you pegged," he said over beers in his garage one night. "That truck, your clothes, you're her nightmare." "Too bad," I said, grinning. "I own this dump. Ain't going nowhere." "Don't tell her that yet," he said, shaking his head. "She'll hate it more." I wasn't here to start shit. Mechanics was my life. 10 years wrenching, hands black with oil, turning beaters into beauties at a shop downtown. I'd inherited 15-seater from Aunt Ruth. Died last year. No kids. Left it to me in a will I didn't expect. No mortgage, just taxes, a jackpot for a broke ass like me. I figured I'd fix it slow. Roof, yard, maybe paint if I didn't screw it up. Easy. Wrong. Day 3, a neon green notice hit my door. Violation, non-compliant vehicle. $50 fine. Day 4, another. Violation, unkempt exterior, yard, $25 fine. Day 5, she caught me hauling tools in my hoodie and ripped jeans. "You look like a vagrant," she barked, popping from a hedge like a suburban goblin. "It's my house," I said, dropping a wrench box. "Work clothes. Deal with it, Karen." "Ms. Voss," she snapped, scribbling. "This isn't a slum. Shape up, or it's $100. She tapped off and I laughed. Big mistake. I wasn't sweating it yet. The house was mine, deed filed, title clear, and the Chevy was legal, just ugly. That's when Dot came in. Dot Harper, 70s, lived across the street, a gruff widow who'd seen me lugging paint cans. "You the new blood?" she asked one morning, knitting on her porch as I mowed the jungle yard. "Yep," I said, wiping sweat. "Mechanic. Fix cars, fix houses." "Gutsy," she said, grinning. "Karen hates guts. Watch your step." By week's end, I had 3 fines, a $125 tab, and a hunch she was scoping me. Lee swore he'd seen her with a flashlight at dusk. Dot's yarn trailed my way like a warning. Maple Grove wasn't a neighborhood. It was Karen's kingdom, and I just rolled in with a crown she wanted to snatch. Week 2 in Maple Grove, and I was starting to feel like I'd parked my rusty Chevy in the middle of a posh car show with Karen Voss as the judge ready to tow me out. My fixer-upper at 15-seater court was holding its own. Peeling pain, wild yard, but mine. And I'd racked up $125 into fines already. Non-compliant vehicle, unkempt exterior, some bullshit about visual blight from my toolbox on the porch. Her neon green citations were piling up in a coffee can on my kitchen counter, a growing monument to her wrath. I'd toss them in with a snort, crank the Chevy's engine, and head to the shop 9 to 5, wrenching cars while Karen slept. Oblivious I was the grease monkey keeping her neighbor's rides running. But awake, she was a buzzsaw with a perm, and she wasn't letting go. It kicked off hard on a Monday. I just rolled in from a long shift, rebuilt a transmission, hands black with oil, tinkering with the Chevy's muffler in the driveway at 6 p.m. It roared to life, louder than I meant, and I was grinning when her heels tapped up. Tap, 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 sharp as gunfire. She stormed over, clipboard in hand, burgundy pantsuit, screaming authority. "Mex Carter," she snapped, voice slicing through the rumble. "This is unacceptable." I killed the engine, slid out, wiping grease on my hoodie. "Evening, Karen. What now?" "Ms. Voss," she barked, pen clicking like a machine gun. "That," she jabbed at the Chevy, nose wrinkling like it had farted in her face, "is a hazard. And you," she scanned me, hoodie to boots, sneer deepening. "Look too poor to live here. Section 6.3, no excessive noise. Section 5.2, vehicles must fit the community. Stop this nonsense." I laughed, tired, sharp, the kind that pisses people off. "Poor? It's my truck, my house, paid for. Noise? It's a workday fix. Sorry, it's not a Tesla, Karen." Her face went pink, then red, then a shade I'd call burgundy meltdown. This isn't a garage, she hissed, scribbling. You're fined. $75, noise and vehicle violation. She slapped the citation on the hood and tapped off, leaving me staring at the green slip like it was a bad joke. Unbelievable, I muttered, crumpling it into the can. Time to push back. First move, bylaws. I'd skimmed the HOA covenants enough to know she was stretching. Section 6.3 banned excessive noise after 10 p.m., and it was barely dusk. Section 5.2 said vehicles had to be presentable, but mine was legal, registered, just ugly. I scribbled a note on a shop rag, grease stains, ballpoint scrawl, and taped it to her door at 7 a.m., pre-shift. Dear Ms. Voss, per 6.3, noise was before curfew. Check it. 5.2, truck's legal. House is mine, not rented. Sorry I don't iron my jeans. Cheers, Jamie Carter. I drew a wrench because why not? She didn't reply directly, but Tuesday, Dot shuffled over, knitting needles clacking, grin wide, while I was hacking at the yard with a borrowed mower. Karen's telling everyone you're a squatter, she said. Says you're too poor, dragging us down. Squatter? I laughed, kicking grass clippings. I own this dump. Deeds filed. She's the one with delusions. She don't care, Dot said. Got a petition brewing. Remove unfit residents. You're it. Petition? I said. She's lost it. Always has, she said. Watch your six. Sure enough, Wednesday, a new citation. Violation, excessive noise. Vehicle, repeated. $50 fine. Repeated. I'd fixed it once. I upped the ante, cranked the Chevy at 8 p.m., loud and legal, then mowed the yard at noon in my rattiest hoodie, blasting AC/DC from a boombox just under the limit. Petty? Hell yeah. Effective? Oh yeah. Karen rolled by Thursday, slow as a hawk, scribbling from her Prius. Friday, she hit me with violation, public disturbance, music. $100 fine. I laughed, taped it to the Chevy's windshield, and called Lee. She's cracking, I said, sipping a Coke in his garage while he sanded a plank. Yep, Lee said, sawdust flying. Heard her at the mailbox? Jamie's a bum, too poor for Maple. I said you own it, she scoffed. Figures, I said. Petition's on now. Lee dropped the sander, grinned. We'll squash it. Dot's in. Hates her guts. Team effort, I said, clinking my can against his water bottle. Karen wasn't playing. Saturday, she called an emergency HOA meeting. 6 p.m., community center, clashing with my overtime shift. Dot texted me the scoop. She's railing. Jamie's a blight low class. Wants you out. I was under a sedan, oil change, hands full, muttering, class my ass, into the undercarriage. Lee and Dot crashed it, uninvited. Lee stood up. Jamie owns that house. Deed's legit. You're the blight, Karen. Karen snapped per Lee's text. Ms. Voss, ownership doesn't mean class. Noise. Trash. I move to evict. Dot countered. Motion to table. Jamie's fine. Vote was close. 14-12. Tabled. Karen stormed out, but I knew she'd double down. Sunday post-shift, I got home to find my toolbox trashed. Wrenches scattered, sockets in the grass, 5 p.m. sharp. Karen stood across the street, arms crossed, smirking. I marched over, greasy and pissed. You wrecked my tools? Prove it, she said, voice dripping venom. Looks better now, fits your slum. Real cute, I said, and called Charlie. Shop buddy IT whiz, lived 3 streets over. She sabotaged me. Cam footage? Got her, he said. Neighbor's ring. Caught her at 4 p.m., tossing your gear. He sent it. Karen, pantsuit pristine, flinging wrenches, muttering, poor trash. I emailed the board. Re-vandalism. Tools destroyed. Video attached. CC'd Karen for fun. Monday, fines tripled. $300 total. Excessive noise. Repeated. Unkempt exterior. Non-compliance. Charlie warned, she's staking you out. Saw her with binoculars. I rigged his spare cam to my porch. Caught her Tuesday 1 a.m., taping a citation. Public nuisance. Gold. I saved it. Wednesday, she went smear. Flyers in mailboxes. Alert, low-class resident at 15 Cedar. Ruining our image. Dot handed him out, whispering, she's nuts. I countered, printed at Lee's. Homeowner keeps Maple Grove running. Support your neighbor. Lee taped him up. Karen ripped him down by dusk. Thursday, she got personal. Called my shop, claiming I was unstable. A poor fit messing up her street. Boss laughed, texted me. She's a clown. You're solid. Ignore her. I thanked him, parked the Chevy louder that night. Legal rumble. By Friday, I had $500 in fines, a petition with 10 signatures and trash tools, but I wasn't budging. Lee said, she's saving the big one. Fall Festival Saturday. Wants you shamed. Let her, I said, sipping beer. I've got the deed. Perfect timing. Dot grinned over her knitting. She doesn't know what's coming. Nope, I said, clinking cans. She's about to rent her own grave. Karen thought the festival was her stage. My poor look her target. She didn't know I'd flip her script and her house into my win. Saturday, October 19th, dawned crisp and golden over Maple Grove. A perfect Ohio fall day, leaves blazing red and orange, air sharp with the promise of cider and chaos. The HOA's Fall Festival was the neighborhood's big hurrah. Tables piled with pumpkins and donuts, kids carving jack-o'-lanterns, adults sipping spiked cider under a rented tent in the community park. I'd been up since 6 a.m., finishing a rush job at the shop, rebuilt a carburetor, hands still greasy, rolling the Chevy into 15 Cedar Court's driveway by noon. My fixer-upper stood proud, peeling paint, patchy yard, but mine, $500 in neon green fines taped to the fridge like war trophies. I showered, threw on a hoodie with holes and jeans with oil stains, and headed to the festival at 3 p.m. Deed folded in my pocket, ready for Karen Voss's big play, unaware I'd turn it into mine. I'd prepped light, thermos of coffee, phone, a grin I couldn't shake. Lee met me at the park entrance, sawdust on his flannel, smirking. You set? He asked, nodding at the crowd. 70 strong, maybe more. Locked and loaded, I said, sipping coffee. Karen's got a petition. Evict the poor bum. She's deranged, Lee said. Dot and I'll back you. Charlie's filming, ring cam live. Perfect, I said, eyeing my Chevy over the fence, rusty but roaring. She's calling me trash. Wait till she eats that. Lee laughed, deep and rough. She's done, let's go. The park hummed, tables under the tent, cider steaming, kids shrieking through a hay maze. Karen stood at a podium, megaphone crackling, burgundy pantsuit loud as a siren, perm gleaming under string lights. Her posse flanked her, Bob's nodding, while Lee, Dot, and a few allies loitered near the donuts, cider in hand. Charlie had his ring cam feed patched to a laptop, 3K views already, neighbors tuning in. At 3:30, Karen grabbed the megaphone, thump, thump, silencing the chatter. Good afternoon, Maple Grove, she chirped, all fake cheer. As your president, I'm proud of our prestige, but we've got a problem. Murmurs rippled. She held up a photo. Me, wrenching the Chevy, hoodie torn, blown up to poster size. This resident, she said, jabbing the pic. Jamie Carter, 15-seater, doesn't belong. Too poor, trashy truck, ragged clothes, a blight on our image. I've fined them, repeatedly, but they defy me. Boos from her posse, nods from suck-ups. Dot snorted, loud enough to turn heads. Karen plowed on. They're a low-class squatter. Noise, mess, no standards. I've got a petition, 10 signatures to evict them now. All in favor? Hands crept up. Her crew, a few sheep. Lee stood, calm as hell. Hold up, he said, voice carrying. Jamie owns that house. Deed's legit. You're the mess, Karen. Lies, Karen screeched, megaphone squealing. Ms. Voss, ownership doesn't mean class. They're too poor for Maple. Vote now. That's when I stepped up. 3:35 mid-rant, pulling the deed from my pocket, unfolding it slow. Hey, Karen, I said loud and clear, no mic needed. Too poor? This says I own 15-seater. Paid off, no landlord. How's your place stack up? Her megaphone froze mid-air, eyes bulging. What's that? She stammered. Deed, I said, holding it high, county stamp gleaming. Mine? You? I grinned, nodding at Charlie. He flipped the laptop. Public records, 10 Oak Lane, Karen Voss, renter, lease since 18, landlord owned. The crowd gasped, dead silence, then buzz. Karen's face went white, then red, then nuclear burgundy. You're lying, she screamed, spittle flying. That's fake, squatter trash. Nope, I said, cool as ice. County filed, title clear. Yours, rented slumlord special. Who's poor now? The tent exploded. Shouts, laughs, no way from the back. Dot stood, knitting needles up. She's a tenant. Hypocrite. Jamie's legit. Karen dropped the megaphone. Thud! And lunged for the laptop. Turn it off, she howled, voice cracking. They're framing me, ruining me. Framing? Lee barked, stepping up. It's public. Your lease, your lie. Crowd turned, murmurs to yells. She rents? Karen, sit down. Phones out, filming. Charlie's stream hit 7K views. I kept going, pulled a second punch. Oh, and that deck? I nodded at Charlie. He swapped screens. Drone shot, Karen's backyard, an unpermitted deck. Rotting boards 5 years old. Section 8.2, no unapproved structures, checkmate. Her posse froze, crowd roared. Wild, messy. Hypocrite! Busted! Phones caught it. Stream hit 10K. Karen shrieked, glass shattering. That's doctored! And charged the laptop. Lee dodged. She hit a cider jug instead. It crashed, soaking her pantsuit, and the crowd lost it. Roaring, filming, kids pointing. Enough, I said, stepping forward, deed high. You want to talk poor? I own this block. You're the tenant here. She snapped, grabbed a pumpkin, flung it, missed me, splattered her posse, pulp flying. Out, she roared, kicking a chair. You're all complicit. She swung at me with the megaphone, missed, tripped over a hay bale, face planted in dirt. Laughter erupted, deep rolling phones catching every angle. Lee climbed a table, megaphone in hand. Karen, sticky with cider. Motion to remove Karen Voss. Now. All in favor? Hands shot up, 50 fast. Eyes boomed. Her posse squeaked. Nay, or drowned out. Motion carries, Lee said. She's out. Karen staggered up, muddy, pantsuit ripped, screaming, You can't! I'm Maple Grove! She snatched her clipboard, crumpled, useless, ran for her Prius, slipped again, keys skittering. Peeled out, skid marks, silence. Then, applause. Whistles. Jamie! Jamie! Chants from the back. I leaned on a table, deed in hand, grinning. Guess that's that, I said to Lee. Hell yeah, he said, slapping my back. You're a badass. Charlie checked his laptop, 15K views live. Viral, D-Drop versus HOA Karen. I laughed, waved at the crowd. Some clapped, some toasted me with cider. Festival rolled on. Pumpkins, music, kids begging to see the deed. Karen's reign was dust and Maple Grove was mine. Sunday morning broke over Maple Grove like a sigh after a bar brawl. Crisp, quiet, the kind of calm that follows a storm. I rolled out of bed at 15 Cedar Court around 9 a.m., still in my grease-stained hoodie from the fall festival. Deed crumpled on the nightstand next to a half-empty coffee thermos. The Chevy sat in the driveway, rusty and triumphant. $500 in neon green fines, now a trophy pile in my coffee can. Charlie's video, D-Drop versus HOA Karen, hit 100K views overnight, climbing fast, and my phone buzzed with texts. Lee, Dot, shop crew, even clients saying, You owned her! I grinned, brewed coffee, and stepped onto the porch, replaying Karen Voss's epic meltdown. The megaphone fling, the pumpkin toss, the dirt dive. Felt like a dream, but the deed said it was real. Lee swung by at 10, sawdust on his jeans, grinning wide. Board met last night, he said, leaning on the rail. Karen's out, official. Charlie's interim prees till the election. No shit, I said, laughing. That was quick. Not quick enough, he said. They're auditing her too, fines, deck, the works. She's screwed. Deck, I asked, for sipping coffee. Yep, he said, nodding across the street. Karen's rental at 10 Oak Lane was dark, curtains shut, but a pickup rolled up. Work crew, saws ready. No permit, 5 years. Board fined her $1,200. Demos today. I whistled. Karma's got a lead foot. Damn right, he said. She's been yelling at him since dawn. Lawsuit this, fraud that. Sure enough, 11 a.m., Karen burst out. Bathrobe flapping, perm a soggy mess, screaming at the crew. This is theft. I'll sue you all. The lead guy shrugged, kept cutting. The deck collapsed like cardboard, hauled off for $2,500. Double her tab. A deputy, same kid from my tool call, rolled up, calmed her. and the demo wrapped by noon. She stood there shaking as they billed her, defeated. Charlie sent me the clip. Round 2, KO. Monday, the HOA email blast hit. Leadership transition and policy update. Charlie's name topped it, confirming Karen's removal, my compliance, no more fines, and her deck violation. Fine print. Pending review of financial discrepancies. K. Voss tenure. Dot's gossip was gold. She'd skimmed dues, $3K over years, funding her pantsuits and that damn clipboard. Restitution ordered, plus the $2,500 hit, $6,700 total. Karen fought back. Tuesday, a note shoved in my mailbox, no stamp. You'll pay, Carter, this isn't over. I showed it to Lee, who laughed. Frame it with the fines. I did. Nailed it above the can, a victory wall. Wednesday, the fines piled on. Her own binder turned on her. Deck 1, 200. Unreported fence stain, 150. Excessive noise from a mixer in 100. $5,050 with the demo. Thursday, a for rent sign sprouted at 10 Oak. Landlord yanked her lease per Dot's intel after the HOA mess. Friday, she was gone. Moving van, Prius, no goodbye. New renters rolled in Saturday, waved at the Chevy, asked if I'd fix their car. I said sure. Maple Grove shifted fast. Charlie rewrote the bylaws, ditched the presentable crap, eased noise rules, added an owner's rights clause in my honor. The Chevy became a fixture. Neighbors stopped, chatted. Fixed my Ford last year. Heard you on the video, badass. My shop gigs boomed. 2 new regulars, a side hustle tuning classics. Even the Millers booked me for their Beamer. Carter's Auto went legit. Business cards, Lee's design, own it, fix it tagline. I laughed, ordered 400. Sunday, I threw a victory grill out. Lee on burgers, Dot on pies, 30 folks crammed in my yard, Chevy parked proud. Charlie brought cider, Dot her knitting, new renters a 6-pack, rough, but it hit. I climbed on a toolbox, coffee raised. To owning it, I said, and keeping it real. Cheers, loud, messy, ours. Lee hugged me, Dot toasted, kids begged to sit in the truck. I let 'em, horn blaring twice. Across the street, 10 Oak glowed with new life. No burgundy, just grit. Karen had called me poor, but I'd owned her block and her game, then fixed it up my way.